Hello everyone, I'm Maniac, and welcome once again to Cupid, a visual novel. It's been a while. Last time I recorded this was like probably September maybe? September, October maybe? Um, yeah, well, in any case, I'm back, and I want to finish playing this game because it's such a sweet and tragic game, and also I just hella dig visual novels and I want to beat it. At least I want to get one of the endings, see what I get. So in any case, yeah, I don't remember what happened very easily last time. Metamorphoses. Um, yeah, we're on chapter 4. And yeah, it's just we last time I remember we were cursing Guilleme, yeah, to see if he was responsible for for what's her for our Catherine for Catherine's death. So the second candle is lit. Its name is Philia, the love for friends. The yellow candle shone and danced with her breath. Let this candle burn until its wick is spent. Encourage friendship, bring forth memories. Let me walk in his halls without any suspicion. Let me rummage through his belongings invisibly. His journal. He guards his journal fiercely. I must find it. Rosa adjusted her coat as she sat on one of the reserved seats. The theater was packed, the air buzzed with excitement. She hadn't realized as many people would come tonight. Oh, Mother, I wish they would stop staring at me. And why not? This is Madame Catherine Piradet's first solo concerto. Her name had been slowly gathering recognition the past few years. It was feasible to expect a full house. Still, the turnout was more than they had expected. Paris had taken Rosa and Catherine by surprise. The sheer number of people and their liveliness were well above the usual sights of their small town. Catherine was obviously thrilled with the opportunity to play in such an esteemed venue for her debut. Rosa tried her best to keep her anxiety under control. This was for Catherine. Yes, for her. This was her night. Rosa took a deep breath and released it slowly. It relaxed her. I hope the show starts soon. Rosa's eye drifted towards the stage and then to the throng of people gathering on her far left. In the middle of the huddle stood a familiar shape of a man. He had his back to her, but the posture and the build were unmistakable. That is Guilleme. Her heart made a sudden, gleeful jump. She was delighted that he had made it to Catherine's show. He had been traveling extensively recently. What if she walked over? What if she walked over and made sure? Guilleme would greet her kindly. She was sure Catherine would be thrilled to know he was here. Huh? Rosa pondered for a bit, reminded of a sudden wince of pain. Soon the master of ceremonies obliged people to take their seats. Guilleme turned around and walked towards her. He stopped midway and took a seat without noticing her presence. Rosa seemed deep in thought. What's wrong, sweetheart? Is something bothering you? Nothing, Mother. Don't lie to me. I just didn't expect to see him here, that's all. Oh, I see. It is the same problem, isn't it? Does Guilleme's presence upset you? Are you worried about Catherine now that he's here? It feels like there could be a third option here. Does Guilleme's presence upset you? Are you worried about Catherine now that he's here? Are you worried about Catherine now that he's here? That filthy man again. I'm sure Catherine will be pleased. Whatever will she think now that her lover is back? I bet she would rather spend all her time with him as usual. My poor darling. Always running after her star. I wonder how long until she is tired of you constantly tagging along. You brag to me that you share everything like sisters. Does that include Guilleme too? Hey, I'd much rather Rosa end up with Catherine than Guilleme. Guilleme can suck an egg for all I care. Catherine is best girl. Catherine is best girl. She's precious. Oh, you are making life so complicated, darling. Why do you even bother yourself with these people? It is obvious he is never going to look at you. It is obvious she will abandon you. It is obvious she will abandon you. I like the implication that we're in love with Catherine more than Guilleme. So the second one implies that we're in love with Catherine. It is obvious she will abandon you. She will obviously abandon you when they get together. They make such a lovely pair. Rosa winced at Mother's voice, as if it were nails grating on a wall. It is only a matter of time, isn't it? What will you do then? Aren't you tired of being the third wheel? It's not like that, Mother. We're friends. Friends? Darling, friendship is nothing but a shallow kind of relationship. Bitch, you're wrong! Friendship is the best kind of relationship. It is deep and precious and wonderful, and friendship is great, and I love it, and it will never die. Friendship. People change friends as easily as the weather. You don't even remember the friends you make at a certain age. Friendships do not last. Family is more important. I honestly don't think that family is more important than friendship. To be completely honest, some people's family is not deserving of respect or dignity. You should just some people just have family that they should cut out of their lives entirely. And that's the truth of the fact. It's true that friendships do not always last, so I'm more willing to go for that. Family is not more important than friendship, but people grow old, people grow apart, and that's just a fact of life. And it's as sad and tragic as it is, it's still a fact. Friendships do not last. Listen to Mother. Friendships do not last. You always love so much. You give all of yourself. I just don't want you to get hurt. The thing is, in spite of how much friendship may hurt, I think it's always worth it in the end. Friends are good. They are not worth the love you give them. I completely disagree. My dear, every relationship is centered around need. They need you now. But soon, they will abandon you too. Rosa's tongue felt bitter in her mouth. She was filled with annoyance for her mother. Wasn't happiness as fleeting as friendship? Yet it was not any less real than sadness. These friends, these were people who accepted her. They shared laughter and tears, their own regrets and dreams. What more was needed? Rosa's confused feelings began to arrange themselves neatly in her mind. Guilleme and Catherine's happiness was important to her. That was the main thing. She knew they felt the same way for her. Her insecurities were real, but they were insignificant. If anything, they were bittersweet. She had no regrets. For the first time in her life, she wanted to talk back to Mother. Go, Rosa! Talk back at me! She bit her lip, quelling the nerves as she opened her mouth to speak. I know that. What? I know they might abandon me one day for whatever reason. It might be today, or next year, or even sooner. But that doesn't matter in the long run. I am happy with them. We've had years together that I will treasure. Like I treasure memories of you too, Mother. My memories of you keep me sustained. That is why I love you. The years we spent together, no matter how fleeting, are still worth something. So let me care for them right now. Everything changes, but nothing is lost. Rosa was sure she had read it somewhere. Rosa waited for Mother to answer with a vicious voice, to burst out screaming at her cheekiness. But no voice came. Rosa smiled to herself. The lights dimmed. A low hush descended on the pews. Soon Catherine entered, clad in the loveliest gown and an even lovelier smile. She was beautiful. She belonged on the stage. The lights shone on her, but they paled in comparison to her radiance. Catherine bowed to the audience and took a seat in front of the piano. She began to play. Rosa gripped the handle of her seat. She felt surges of emotion with every note. A kind of energy passed through her, touching her skin and making her break into goosebumps. Oh, Catherine! Rosa hadn't known of such an effect before this moment. Music that could strike the heart as if it was fiddling with the soul. It was different from practice, different from when she was performing in front of smaller groups. This was a stage, and here was a woman with strings. She was tugging the right keys, touching your heart and electrifying your soul. Rosa realized she wasn't alone in this feeling. The whole room was mesmerized. She looked at the lady beside her seat. She had her hand to her open mouth. A teardrop dangled precariously on her eye. The man to her left seemed to have forgotten to blink. Rosa beamed and savored a rush of kinship with them. They were experiencing the same emotions with her. It made her love them just a little bit. Rosa closed her eyes and savored the night. A bead of sweat fell from Catherine's chin. She was out of her body now. Her stress from the beginning of the show had thawed and turned into passion. It ran down her fingers to the keys. It did not escape Catherine's notice that most people in the crowd came to the show to gawk at her. Catherine Pierre, the one that the infamous Marquis de Gull had been courting for years. Didn't he pay for this event? Lucky broad. Catherine Piraday. I heard she was some pianist. Any good? Who knows? Must be. If even that marquis is chasing her. Catherine Piraday. Some female pianist. Pretty face, nice flesh on her. Let us watch her show. Her fingers caressed the keys, playing them with the force of her heart. Did she play to prove them wrong? Fuck yeah! Her music saturated the theater with her fervor. No, not to prove them wrong. To set it right. Catherine Piraday is my name. I am more than just a pretty face. I am playing this piece for you. It is my gift. Let me touch your soul. Rosa felt her eye get moist. This was Catherine's heart transcribed into music. All energy and beauty with the strength of the wind. The mischief of a sudden gale that whips at ladies' skirts and tips gentlemen's hats. The cold breeze that carried the loneliness of the coming winter. Everyone in the audience felt it. Rosa searched for Guilleme's face in the darkness. She couldn't see him clearly. But it didn't matter. She knew what he was feeling. She felt it too. Rosa's heart began to ache. It was a sting she didn't know how to name. Love. Wavu. After the show, Rosa greeted Catherine in her backstage dressing room. Oh, she's so cute. Oh, I'm so happy. Look at her. She's so pretty. She was smothered in flowers from the audience. Sweat glistened on her forehead. Catherine gave her a tight hug. Congratulations, Kath. You were marvelous on stage. Thank you, Rosie. Catherine covered her cheeks with her hands. I'm still shaking. The excitement from the stage hasn't left. Look at my hands. Oh dear. So I would call the show a success, yes? Pour the champagne, Shari. It is a night to remember. Catherine and Rosa hugged again. Let me just finish up here, Rosa. Then we'll celebrate properly. Two young, ravishing ladies sampling the best of what Paris has to offer. I like it. I like you, Catherine. I love her so much. Why did she have to die? Rosa laughed. Just don't let go of my hand. You might get lost being so starry-eyed. She was teasing, but smiling brightly all the same. I would never. Anyway, shall I meet you outside in a few minutes? Very well. I'll see you later. Rosa was thankful to leave the backstage area. She had almost forgotten her anxiety during the show, but the backstage was an ill reminder of the crowd. She looked forward to the night ahead, wondering vaguely why she hadn't mentioned Guilleme's presence to Kath. She shrugged it off. It had simply slipped her mind. That was all. Catherine went back to her dressing room, humming as she went about to grab her coat. She wasn't the least bit tired. Visions of city, exploring new sights, and gaining experiences made her giddy with excitement. It will end the night on the best note, she was sure. A small knock interrupted her thoughts. Who's there? Catherine turned around, and the cheerful smile froze on her face. The Marquis peeked from the open door and stepped inside. Hello, Kath. Huh? A tingling passed through Catherine's neck. Although she was aware he had returned, this was the first time she'd seen him in 2 years. After she rebuked his intentions of wooing her, Catherine shook her head at the memory. They grew up together. It was normal to develop feelings for someone you had shared most of your life with, was it not? Yet Catherine had promised herself not to dabble with the Marquis. With all the rumors and the past flings, it felt like she knew too much. Too complicated, she reasoned. The rumors were still alive in some circles. But hadn't Guilleme come clean with his romantic escapades? Hadn't he vowed to be faithful since he made his intentions clear? Who to believe? Perhaps it was possible that. Catherine pushed away the insinuation of that last thought and rearranged her face into a merry smile. She curtsied. "My Lord Marquis, thank you for coming." The last bit came out too loud in her ears. It felt like her voice was compensating. She suppressed a groan. "I hope you found the show satisfactory." My Lord Marquis? What happened to Gilly Monster? At once the memories flooded her mind. That used to be her greeting every time she had visited him back then. She would scream that when she saw him right before she flung her arms around his neck. Catherine didn't know what to do. Suddenly the hands that had never betrayed her felt like they belonged to someone else. She cleared her throat and felt the smile harden on her face. "Pardon my past slight, sire. I was a bit of a precocious child. After all, I must give my due respects to the sponsor of this event. Thank you, by the way. It didn't have to be so extravagant." "Wasn't it your dream to play in Paris, Kath?" "I thought your debut would be the perfect opportunity to fulfill that dream." The Marquis stepped into her quarters and closed the door. Catherine flinched, afraid that the small room would draw them even closer. Just the effect he wanted, probably, the sly fox. She floundered for a bit and contented herself in fussing with the flowers on the table. She should chase him out. Why wasn't she chasing him out? Mère de Catherine! I didn't think you'd be attending tonight, sire." "Weren't you traveling?" "Yes, I was. But I wouldn't miss your concerto for the whole of France." Guilleme stepped forward. "And it seems my investments were well placed." Guilleme drew closer to Catherine, so near that she could smell the mint in his breath. "Get away from my girl!" He appeared to reach out to her face, but changed direction at the last minute. "You better fucking get away from my girl. I love Catherine. Get away, you dickhead." "Oh, these flowers are from the Duke. How pretty." He examined the card dangling a hair away from Catherine's ear, trying to look fascinated by the piece of decorative paper. Then he stepped back, grinning like an idiot. He really has great taste." "Wherever did you learn that, muckhead?" If he thought that kind of ploy would make her swoon, then he was dead wrong. In fact, all it made her want to do was wipe that stupid grin off his face with the backside of the vase. "Yes, he does, doesn't he?" She gritted her teeth, unable to take the acidic edge off her voice. "It wouldn't be so hard." All she had to do was grab the neck of the expensive vase and fling it at his head. She wasn't sure if the vase would break. Maybe not. Maybe she would need to hit him again for the full effect. Catherine, did you hear what I just said? Huh? I said now that I'm back in town, would you consider playing for me again? It was part of our original arrangement, after all. She felt the tendons in her neck tighten. I have a full schedule this week, sire, but I'll let you know when I'm free. Oh. Sire, I must retire for the night. I'm exhausted from my performance after all. Excuse me. Catherine turned around and went for her coat, but Guilleme grabbed her hand. Wait, um... They stared at each other for a couple of seconds. Guilleme looked like he was about to say something. His mouth opened and closed as if debating the correct words in his head. But he dropped Catherine's hand a moment later. I'm sorry. You're right. You must be tired. His shoulders dropped. Catherine felt a tinge of disappointment, but she ignored it quickly. Guilleme let out a sigh. You know, I'm not good at this, Catherine. Oh, what do I know? You seem to do just fine. You have an amazing track record. Huh? Catherine folded her arms over her chest with a pout. Oh, that? That is because of my face. What? Most people think I am very deep and thoughtful when I stare at them like this. I just run with it. Catherine bit her lip to prevent the chuckle from escaping. But the laughter burst out from her. He hadn't changed at all. Before she could stop herself, a mischievous smile appeared on her lips. No, actually, it is your inability to make big gestures, Gilly. Huh? Well, look at you. She copied his tight, alert posture. You stand stiff as a board. I guess it fools people into believing you are a graceful, dashing soul. Guilleme made a pout. I am dashing, though. Maybe. A little. Au contraire, monsieur. Messiah. I did have the misfortune of being victim to your dancing. Must you always bring that up? It was a long time ago. He looked so distressed that Catherine couldn't help but tease him further. I mourn the death of my little toe, sire. I liked that toe. It was a traumatic experience. Before long, they were laughing like it was the most natural thing in the world. When did it change? Hadn't it always been like this? Catherine settled back into her own skin, mulling the confusion in her veins. Cath... She looked up at him. Her own emotions stung her. You can't keep running away from me. She sighed deeply. Her hands tightened around her resolve for lack of her hands tightened around her resolve for lack of a solid thing to hold on to. Perhaps not, but I have already given you an answer. I am aware. I have tried to accept it. Please don't take offense, but I thought it would be easy. I left to clear my head, to fill my mind with other things. Traveling usually does the trick. For a while, at least, I thought I was successful. But even during my trip, I would catch myself thinking about such absurd things like, I wonder what Kath would say when she sees that. No, I don't think Catherine will like this too much. Well, Kath used to say. Hmm. It was funny, but also a little infuriating to know that you have never left my mind. So I wish I knew how to do this. He sighed. I am too used to people leaving me, that I do not know how to quit on my own. It must bother you, the amount of lovers I had in the past, and also the fact that you're like twice her age. I am sorry for that. I almost wish I really was that adept. But like I have told you, most were simply rumors. The rest were people realizing I am not as interesting as they had initially thought. Guilleme. They never stay long, Kath. One could say I'm amazing with first impressions. There is a nagging feeling that that's all I am ever good for. A sort of exotic trophy people like to collect for its sake, and then put aside when its novelty expires. I can't blame them. By now, I am quite sure that I am what is wrong. I must be better at letting people go. But you, please do not make me let go. You see through me, Kath. In your eyes, I feel like I am somebody worth loving. Is it any wonder I'd like to continue thinking of you fondly? Old habits die hard, I suppose. Catherine bit her lip. Those are impressive words, sire, but do you have a point? My point? It's simple, really. I don't think I'll be able to stop my feelings for you. You may reject me as many times as you wish. It will not change. I have already come to the conclusion that I don't mind. He shrugged. So I propose that you either get used to me chasing you, or you give in to my dashing, toe-mashing charms. Catherine chuckled despite herself. Or I could just kill you with the Duke's fashionable vase. Please do not give my superior the pleasure. I would rather you rip my heart out of my chest and offer it as a dark sacrifice to the gods. Gory. Very poetic. Dashing points for you. You think so? I've been reading a lot of romance novels lately. What kind of romance novels are you even talking about? Pride and Prejudice? I figured I must learn to be more suave to make the ladies of my dreams swoon, or give her boundaries. Is it working? No, I'm not impressed. Bro, Pursual is somewhat desirable, but she already said no, and you're not giving her a choice in this matter. So how about you give her a choice in the matter first, and then maybe I'll maybe I'll give it a consideration, because blind pursual isn't suave, it isn't gentlemanly, it's creepy, and so stop it. Catherine laughed. Hardly. I believe this is how they do it in the big finale. Guilleme cleared his throat and knelt down on one knee. Aw. Okay, I admit this scene is a little cute. He took Catherine's hand awkwardly, trying to act as natural as he could. His serious face made Catherine burst out laughing. Quel voile! What in the world are you doing, idiot? Stop laughing, madame. I must try this at least once. I'm simply concerned for an older gentleman and his knee. Will you be able to stand up from that position later, given your obvious grace? Guilleme chuckled. Terrible! Dare you call terrible, dare you call me an old man? I don't look my age, you know. Sure. Oh, stop laughing, will you? I am trying to concentrate. He cleared his throat again. Will Mademoiselle Catherine Pierre allow me an audience tonight? As such, perhaps she might allow me to stay by her side for a while longer. It would make me a very happy man. It was sappy and ridiculous, and yet hearing the words did stir Catherine's heart. They were giggling like fools now, like children, her heart heavy with love for him. Love? Did she just think love? Of course she did. She had always loved him. Why was she fighting her feelings again? The reason seemed unclear all of a sudden. All right, sire. Your gallantry has convinced this lady to accept your offer for tonight. She bowed with an exaggerated curtsy. Guilleme took her hand theatrically as he stood up. This gentleman is relieved that he didn't have to sing. A few rules for tonight. As we are in Paris, you must be on your best behavior. No embarrassing jokes like making friends with the street mimes. Agreed. As such, I must retire by 8. 10. 8. 9:30. 9. Take it or leave it. Guilleme grumbled, but Catherine just chuckled at his frustration. Fine. 9:15 it is. Sire, I meant 9 sharp. Guilleme's face brightened like a little boy's. Oh, I know where we can go. There's a quaint little paisa just south of here. They have a breathtaking view of the city. They're on a hill, you see. I know the owner personally, so we're already guaranteed the best seats. And they serve the best pommes de terre guarantee. Potatoes? Best potatoes? Okay. Gratin again? If you continue eating that every opportunity to get, there will soon be no potatoes left in all of France. Catherine sighed. Why must he be so... This better not be a game like all of your other flings, sire. I deserve to be treated as more than a prize. But Catherine watched Guilleme's face beam as he talked about the little house on the hill. How, when the weather was perfect, the stars would soak the sky. She giggled to herself with fondness. What a dolt! A night in Paris, and he would rather eat cheese potatoes. It was just like him to pick the stars instead of the city, wasn't it? It pleased her to know that she adored the side of him that others did not see. But was this the real him? Did she really see through him like he said? Or was this a face he put on for her sake, like most flirts could? If it was, then she had been watching this face since she was a little girl. From awe to admiration, from friends to lovers. They had seen the best and worst of each other through the years. Surely there was something to that. Surely it couldn't all be a lie, right? I'm sorry, I got carried away. Shall we go? Yes. Catherine grabbed her coat and Guilleme took her purse. Oh, I almost forgot. Rosa is waiting outside. Then let us hurry and meet up with her. I haven't seen her in a long time. I missed her too. It will be a treat to spend the evening with two esteemed ladies. She'll be thrilled to see you. Just like old times, us three. Yes. She slipped her hand on his arm nonchalantly and caught Guilleme smile to himself. At the very least, let that smile be real. You're lying! Lady Claudette saw you in Nîmes. Tears and snot ran down her face. She was holding a vintage 1610 bottle of wine. 1910, that's fucking like 100 years from this point. She gripped the neck of the bottle and flung it at the wall where Guilleme was standing. He ducked just in time to avoid the glass. Cherie! Don't you Cherie me, you bastard! Can we not take it? Can we not take it out on my wine collection again? Catherine threw another bottle in response. Stop, Catherine, you're going to hurt yourself. Hurt myself? Like you care? You tell me that you're off to, Avignon last weekend, but you're actually in Nîmes? Why are you making this into a huge deal? So I had to stop over at a neighboring town. It's a lie if you omit things. I told you at the very start of this relationship, Guilleme. I want 100% honesty from you. And I've told you as well. I have a reputation. Rumors follow me. Idle mouths can't help but chatter. Did you know that Lady Claudette once incidentally proposed to me? And right in her husband's birthday gathering as well. So what? That is beside the point. You know what they say, where there is smoke, there's fire. How about a name to further torch the bush? Okay, I'm gonna be terrible at this. La 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 laline la la Lelni Laline de Monteclair. Laline is the shop girl of the town, a nice girl. Or at least I surmise from all those 3 times I made the mistake to enter a shop, it looks like. Is there anything else you would like to insinuate? Oh, nothing at all, sire. Why? Why? Is there anything I should know? Guilleme sighed and tried to speak calmly. Cherie, I promised you when we got engaged, didn't I? I will be faithful to only you. There is no one else. But Catherine gritted her teeth. Again with this. You are more vague than a monkey's spit. Answer me straight right now, yes or no. Are you having an affair? Guilleme threw his hands up in annoyance. Merde, Catherine, I am not. I have already answered this. Why does it seem like you only hear what you want to hear? I just want to understand everything and make it crystal clear. Is that so bad? Now explain to me what Lady Claudette... Lady Claudette? You're taking that bitter, conniving woman's words over mine? Humph! Well, I try to get information from the source, but the source isn't very reliable. Guilleme's shoulders slumped in an irritated surrender. She heard him curse under his breath. I am tired of this, Kath. It is a waste of time. What is the point of this if we keep going around in circles? Catherine snuffled, wiping her nose savagely with her hand. You always do this. You go off on a tangent and pick things apart. You don't even listen to my side at all. Could you stop acting like a child for 1 minute? Maybe then we could have a real conversation. A conversation with a liar is always one-sided. Catherine grabbed 2 bottles this time. What would happen if she brought the 2 bottles crashing in front of her? Would the pieces of glass stab her face, her eyes maybe? What a random thought. The morbid picture gave her an out-of-body experience. It was a nasty fight, depressingly familiar. But they were dancing the same tune once again. Here be the lovers. Enter, left, the hothead. Watch her dance with anger blazing. Tears are sparkling, bitter rage. The fight goes on until she's spent. The reason's hazy in her head. Pan right, the rake. Both the victim and the accused. Words are poison, words are poison or an unlit fuse. Migraines taunt his pride and temper. He grudgingly takes on logic's mantle. The words they throw reach fever pitch. The dance will crest, he'll choose to leave. Enough of this, he'll say in rage. Temper rising, he exits frame. Her unspent fervor burning hot. She cries it off, that cowardly sod. What did you expect, she asked herself. He'll take abuse with a bowed head? The least he could do, her anger shouts. A hint of guilt, a hint of doubt. The migraine throbs as he is pacing. Annoyed and angered, his face aflush. Capricious woman, irrational. He shakes his head with a tired breath. Yet he basks in torture and savors the taste. This is love, he nods. This is love, he says. Love and pain go hand in hand. It is painful, yes, but never bland. He nips a morsel and takes a bite. Exquisite, he trembles. A rush. A charge. A sweet delight. Come on, I'm just wondering if this thing was translated from some other language, because it feels like it could be a poem, but it doesn't flow very well, and it doesn't rhyme when it easily could. He feels his heart is struck by love. Decides that it is worth the gripe. A dainty flower he must protect, to watch it bloom until it's ripe. But not right now, he says, still sore. His pride's too hard to swallow whole. Hours passed, he wouldn't call. She forms the words she knows will hurt. She plans to cut and make him bleed. Yet when he arrives, she all but weeps. Why'd you leave? I shouldn't have. Are you angry still? I'm here now, love. Her arms are snug upon his neck. He'll promise to change, to do what's best. For both their sakes, he admits he's wrong. A little lie to complete the song. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you love. Just tell me when you're tired of me, or when you find some other pretty thing, you bastard. Catherine slipped back into her brain just as the last sentence left her lips. If you're going to leave me, then just leave. Stop playing me for a fool. This was a new tempo. She dropped the bottles to her side, but did not let go. He noticed a change of song and timed his step accordingly. I never once thought or treated you like a fool. I love you. I'm never going to leave you. New tears churn and bubble from her eyes. Liar. It was her turn to leave this time, and she did. He was left to perform a solo. Contemplation, regret, penance, a vow of new beginnings forming in his head. Kath? Rosie Wosie! Catherine stumbled into Rose's room that evening, drunk to high heaven. Her half-lidded eyes surveyed Rosa's meager space. She let herself fall on the bed, regretting it instantly. The ceiling spun in a waltz of throbbing headaches and acid-laced throats. Bad idea. Catherine stood up, and her wobbly legs tripped her. Rosa caught her and sat Kath on her small bed. My goodness, you stink of alcohol. She propped some pillows behind her back and fixed the stray hairs that had littered her face. Thanks, hon, you're a dear. How much have you had, Kath? Catherine counted on her fingers. Never mind. Would you like some water? Yes. No, drink some water, Catherine. Nope. Interesting. Huh? I can almost hear liquid sloshing around in my brain when I shake my head. Rosa pursed her lips. Catherine was in no shape to make decisions right now. She stood up to get her something to sober up. But Catherine grabbed Rosa's hand and tugged at it gently. No, you. You sit. Please. Rosa complied. Catherine revealed a bottle about 3/4 full. Snuck another one from Killy's monster closet. Serves him right for calling me a child. Rosa began to protest. Catherine paid her no mind. Come on, Rosa. When have we ever drunk ourselves to the point of insanity? And I call you my best friend. Catherine took a huge swig of the bittersweet liquid and offered it to Rosa. Rosa examined it carefully and took a mouthful. She gargled it in her mouth, admiring the sweet and sour flavor of the wine. I've never had anything this rich before. Good, right? It had to be. It's the last bottle. So, you had another fight with Guy? Shush. Bad wind follows that name. I'm not talking about that egocentric pompadour tonight. We are going to drink. We are going to reminisce. And tomorrow we'll hate ourselves together. Agreed? Rosa giggled. If you say so. Oh. They're so precious together. Oh, I love them so much. Yoink them to kiss. They're so perfect for each other. All right, last one. Rosa puffed her cheeks in mock disgust. Fine. How do you make holy water? How? Boil the hell out of it. I fucking love Catherine. She's the queen of puns. Rosa and Catherine were assaulted by fits of hysterical laughter. Catherine felt the muscles of her cheeks ache. That is so bad. I don't even have the words. Catherine wiped the tears of laughter from her eyes. I heard that one from one of your suitors, Sir Adrian. Rosa rolled her eyes. How come I always end up taking your suitors? How come I always end up talking to your suitors more than you? I must start charging you a fee. I'll pay it with my gratitude. What's wrong with Sire Adrian anyway? He seems like a nice man. Nice hair, nice teeth, nicely groomed mutton chops. I love mutton chops. Mutton chops are amazing. The women laughed. How about Sire Ferrand? He sent you that lovely bouquet of flowers. I'm not interested in a relationship at the moment. At the moment? You don't seem interested ever! I am. Sometimes. It is just hard to connect with people for me beyond physical. Relationships seem out of the question. You don't have any difficulty with me or that idiot in the upper room. It means you're not incapable. That is only because you are my closest friends. Well, there must be someone. It's you, Catherine. I love you. Love you. Oh, you are so picky. If you go on like that, you might end up an old maid. So be it. I'd rather take care of your children anyway. I shall be the amazing godmother. Catherine smiled wistfully. I'm not sure I want any. What? Children. I love children, but it's a little scary. Let's run away together. Let's run away together, get married, and adopt like 12 children. Let's do it, Catherine. Catherine bit her lip. What if she becomes her own mother? It was such a terrifying possibility, wasn't it? She barely remembered her mother. Her malady had stricken as soon as Catherine was born. She had never called Catherine by her name, not even on the day she had died. All she knew was that her family struggled with that crisis. Her father exhausted and depressed, and her sister forced to grow up too fast. To be a blight to the people you love, how horrible would it be? Catherine. Rosa smiled at her, interrupting her thoughts. She will be a good mother. Your past does not matter. Catherine stared at Rosa, almost enchanted at her ability to know what she was thinking. She really was her best friend, wasn't she? The thought warmed her heart. You really think so? Yes. The fact that you are so concerned about them before they are even born speaks much of your kindness. Whatever happens, those children will grow up loved. Catherine blushed and changed the subject. Oh, we're out of booze. We finished it. I'm quite buzzed. Hey, remember the first time we drank? You mean the party or the potato incident? Of course I meant the potato incident. Oh, how can I forget? Rosa burst out laughing. That was hilarious. Wench, stop lying. Stop laughing. I almost went to jail. Goodness, I was so stupid. Rosa laughed again. Amen. Hey, you're supposed to say, no, Catherine, we do dumb things when we're young. Catherine, we do dumb things when we're young. We're still young. It's about time you learn your lesson. I can't wait to tell your children endless tales of your shenanigans. Wench! Tut tut. Catherine grabbed Rosa's waist and attempted to tickle her, but Rosa slipped away, laughing. Catherine's stomach lurched and she stopped, her hands still hugging Rosa's waist. The room spun, but it wasn't unpleasant. She felt like being gently rocked in a cradle. She closed her eyes and smiled. She took in Rosa's scent, always smelling slightly like apples. Rosa scratched her head and smoothed her hair. This is nice. Yes. Rosa? Thank you for being with me. Of course. No, I mean... She sat up on the bed. You've been with me all my life. You are my oldest friend. When we first met, I didn't have many friends. I just studied my piano lessons night and day because that's all I ever knew to do. It was all I had. Maybe that's why I begged Papa to let you stay with us. I was so happy. Rosa smiled fondly at the memory. You were always there. You were there for me. Always. That sounds disgustingly melodramatic. You're drunk. I understand. Oh. My roommate's home. They laughed again. Would you like to hear something worse? What? You changed my life. Oh, that is worse. Rosa smiled fondly as she played with Catherine's hair. I'm the lucky one, Catherine. You took me home and treated me like I was family. I wouldn't have known what a real family was like without you, Papa Francois and Emile. Even if Papa Francois always did avoid me, I knew he cared for me like his own. Yes, why is that? That was why I liked him. He was a good man. And you know, Guilleme was almost family too. Catherine made a face at the mention of the man, but her eyes softened. I miss my father. Me too. There was a pause. Catherine shifted awkwardly in her skin. Can I tell you a secret? Of course. Guilleme and I... We haven't had intercourse. Recently? Ever. No, I mean at all. Oh. Let us have... No, that's a bit weird. Rosa cleared her throat. I see. After all these years? Well... After the first time, never again. Rosa blushed. Her head knitted together with, her head knitted together images of the two people she considered her friends. Rosa tried to push him away, but all she could do was paint the warped fantasies in gossamer and fuzz. She cleared her throat. Is that why you have separate rooms, even when we moved here to the chateau? No, that was his idea. He's very particular with his sleep. I imagine we'll be keeping the separate bedrooms even when we get married. I don't really mind. Well, your wedding is soon, isn't it? Perhaps you are just nervous. No, I don't think it's like that. Recently we'd get intimate, but I always stopped when things got too sultry. Oh. He gets upset sometimes, but he says it's all right. Catherine looked down ruefully on her toes. He doesn't push me into it. I should be glad. But don't you think it's strange, or are you ace? I mean, or you're ace, and I'm very happy if you're ace. What if I stay like this even after we get married? I don't understand why. Sometimes I get these doubts, and I wonder why they are there. Isn't it unfair for him? I just feel like there is something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. But it makes me really insecure. This lack of, what if he's getting it somewhere else? It drives me crazy. And believe me, I want to. I just can't for some reason. I get this horrible feeling I can't explain. Rosa examined Catherine's face and came to a conclusion. It took me a while to understand sex. The sudden no-nonsense comment surprised Catherine. Rosa went on. I was the same as you. I always had an adverse feeling for it. It's like dirty and that I should be ashamed for enjoying it. I had always thought love would make sex clean, but that's not how it works. They are two separate things. So just because you don't like sex doesn't mean you don't love him, Kath. Catherine looked up at her. Why do you even care so much? Why do you even care so much to hurt him? What do you think love is? The warm feeling returned to Catherine's heart. How do you do that? Huh? You always know the right thing to say. Always. Rosa blushed at this, suddenly aware that they were still in a loose tangle of an embrace. I've read a lot of smart books lately. She tried to diffuse the situation with a laugh, but Catherine didn't drop her look. Candlelight played pretty shadows on her skin. It illuminated the glint in her eyes, the moist on her lips. Rosa felt the warmth of the alcohol rise up to her face. Her heartbeat increased steadily. Anyway, maybe you will feel better about it when you are married. Or not, when she's ace, and I will love her forever if she's ace. You are probably just nervous about the whole thing. She made attempts to curl away from Catherine's arms. Slowly, subtly run away. Disperse the proximity. But she couldn't run away from her stare. Catherine's hand caressed Rosa's face. She touched her scars daintily, tracing them with her fingers. You're really pretty, Rosa. Especially when you smile. Thank you, I think. You don't believe me. I don't think I am. I look in the mirror and I see a freak. Rosa! That's not true! It is fine. I like being a freak. I wanted to be ugly. I used to bind my breasts and hide in the shabbiest clothes I could find. Rosa touched her eye. This was penance, she remembered herself saying, for being a sinner and a freak, for attracting attention and spite, for dressing nicely, for letting her hair grow long. But really, I did this to myself, to hide. To hide? Rosa's mouth quivered. I thought people don't touch ugly things. But the truth is they do. So I'd rather be as invisible. Catherine wrapped her arms around Rosa's neck. She heard Catherine sniff and wipe tears behind her embrace. Oh. She pushed Rosa's hair away and kissed her defective eye. You're not a freak, and you're not ugly. I love every part of you. They're all beautiful. Rosa forgot how close they were now, forgot Catherine's hands on her own. Here was somebody who accepted her, with all her faults and ugliness. You always made me feel I am worth something. Because you are. You are beautiful, Rosa, inside and out. Rosa saw her face reflected in Catherine's eyes. In them, she did indeed look beautiful. A lump formed in Rosa's throat. Catherine's face hovered above her cheek. She planted a little seed of a kiss on it, just barely away from her lips. Rosa kissed her nose in return. It made Catherine giggle. At first, the kisses were sweet, innocent, the kind of punch-drunk kisses that sent them both into bouts of giggling. But Catherine's hand caressed her neck. The kisses lingered. Lips melded. Hands explored. And Rosa sucked on Catherine's tongue inside her mouth. Ooh, it's getting spicy, wine, candle wax, spit. That was what it tasted like. Rosa's head began to swoon. Catherine's hands squeezed her right breast. Tripe, grapes, plush. Rosa began to taste more of her. Longing, regrets, tears. A sensual flavor she had never tasted before hovered at the edge of her tongue. Suddenly she was hungry for it. Take it all. Rosa savored the taste. She breathed deeply. All mine. Child, I want it. Her heart. I want her heart. Her love is sweet. Listen to my voice. Mother? But I am so hungry. So hungry. Stop. Rosa flung her eyes open. A sinking feeling of menace overcame her. No. Rosa pulled away. She pushed Catherine away from her face. Catherine's eyes snapped open, startled by Rosa's outburst. Why did you stop? Greedy, selfish bitch. She blinked for a few seconds. A look of horror creeped on her face. I'm sorry. I didn't mean... No, Kath. Rosa couldn't stand the hurt in her eyes. She was probably blaming herself. Rosa wanted to shout how wrong she was, but the lump in her throat made a rapacious mouth. A tumor had grown inside of her, a parasite. She could feel it pulse and slither inside her neck. She couldn't speak at all. Catherine wobbled off the bed. She wiped her mouth and cheeks, which were covered with a thin layer of drool. I'm so sorry, Rosa. I'm going to leave now. Kath! Good night. Rosa should have followed her. But when she tried to stand, the floor twirled. She choked at the flavor left in her throat. Slick and cloying, sticky sweet like honey. The taste both repulsed and enticed her. Thick spit leaked out of her mouth. She felt the urge to vomit. This is nothing, Mother. Just a bad after effect of alcohol. No. Please don't call me that. It was an accident. Everything is fine. She would talk to Catherine tomorrow, assure her that this was not her fault. Everything was fine. There was an urgent knock at Guilleme's door. The clock read 2:15 in the morning. He closed his journal and stood up from his desk. Yes, coming. He opened his door. Catherine stood in front of him, her cheeks stained with hastily wiped tears. Kath? Guilleme, can we talk? Oh, isn't it quite late? Please, it's urgent. All right. Guilleme led her inside. My lady, you smell like my vintage bottle of, Bourgogne. Did you get so drunk you actually thought of apologizing first? I didn't think I'd see the day. Sherry, what's wrong? Catherine's thumb went to her mouth without thinking. How could she even begin to tell Guilleme what she had done? Honey, I was really upset with you today. So despite any good sense, I went and got myself drunk. This time I dragged Rosa along with me. Things have a tendency to go out of hand when alcohol is involved, as you know. Long story short, I came on to Rosa. You know, Rosa, the girl who was almost like my sister. Yes, I may have forced myself on her. And I did that right after she told me she has been abused before. She felt Guilleme's hand take her thumb away from her mouth. Kath? She looked at her fingers in horror. Her habit had surfaced again. She thought she had gotten rid of this as she grew up, replacing the nail biting with meticulous, almost obsessive care for her fingers. My fingers are my livelihood. I must take care of them. Now the nails were chewed down to jagged stumps, and a couple of them had tiny blistering cuts. Kath, can you talk? Catherine's eyes snapped back to Guilleme as if he had just materialized in the room beside her. Yes, so like I was saying, darling, which is the worst thing? Which is the worst thing? What do you think? This implied incest, my abuse of my best friend, or my infidelity to you. Well, obviously, the worst one of that is incest, but, you know. Or if that doesn't cut it, my, dear, may I divulge to you one last point. I felt something worrying when I kissed her. Excitement. If she hadn't stopped me, something else would have. It felt so real, it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like it had always been there, buried deeply. So much so that it felt like cheating. It was like a craving. I wanted it. It was something I haven't felt with you when we... Why is this happening? I don't know. I don't even know who I am anymore. Kath, you are scaring me. Tell me, what's wrong? Would you still want to marry me? Would you still love me if you knew? Let's make a happy polyamorous relationship. That's why how I think we solve this. The happy three-way. Rosa has feelings for both you, for both Catherine and Guilleme. Guilleme probably is going to come on to Rosa eventually, and Catherine has feelings for Guilleme and Rosa. Let's make a happy polyamorous three-way relationship. Let's do it. You still love me if you knew? I wouldn't. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. But I think I know who I am now. I am a selfish, depraved bitch. No, you're not, Catherine. You're just lesbian. I've always been the controlling, jealous lover to you. And just one night of drunken frenzy, I went and took advantage of the two people I care for the most. Not even wine to justify this. Not enough wine to justify this. I want to call off the engagement. At first, Catherine saw that Guilleme treated it as a joke, but the panic in his eyes set in immediately. What? I said I'm calling off the engagement. Well, I refuse. You don't have a choice. I'm leaving tomorrow. No. Not until you tell me what's wrong. Guilleme's eyes didn't flinch. These were the looks he gave her that melted her heart. They were so sure and steadfast in their care. They were just fighting this morning, a fight she had started, as usual. Yet there was no doubt in his eyes at all. If she were to see that certainty fade from his eyes, she knew it would break her. Is it about the fight earlier? Because, Kath, I swear to you, I haven't done any of... No, stop. Hearing him reinstate his devotion to her just made it more painful. Tears pooled in her eyes and fell in huge, ugly globs. She had been doing so well, too. She had thought she could hold it in until she left. She wiped the tears as best she could, but more kept pouring out. It isn't about that. Then what is it? What do you want me to do? Whatever it is, I shall do it. This was so hard. Why did this have to be so hard? Why did she even go here? Because she wanted to see his face. She wondered what it would be like for a cheater to go back. She wondered what it would be like for a cheater to go back to the arms of her lover. Would it change somehow? Did she still love him? How could she even tell? All her emotions were wrapped in a thick layer of guilt. It was hard to distinguish every painful thought. She'd started to sob now. Yes, indeed. Ugly, unflattering snorts came out of her nose. It felt comforting to hold on to the guilt. Its existence made the hatred towards herself bite less. Kath Please tell me what's bothering you. I don't deserve you. I'm a horrible person. You have to find someone else. I'm sorry. Catherine let the words tumble out of her mouth, slightly relieved to be rid of them. She looked up tearfully at Guilleme to gauge his reaction, but he just stared back at her blankly. Why wouldn't he say anything? Catherine sobbed, fearing the worst. Guilleme cleared his throat and spoke hesitantly. Could you, repeat that? He cupped his hand to her ear and angled it closer to her face. He apparently hadn't caught any of her heartfelt words. Catherine snarled angrily at him. You idiot! I'm having a breakdown here! But I didn't understand what you said. I said you ought to find someone else because I'm a horrible person. Guilleme pulled her to him. Oh, that's it? Whatever made you think that? Whatever made you think I'll accept that reason? Catherine's tears soaked his shirt. You don't know what I've done. Then tell me. You'll hate me, I guarantee it. Did you punch a baby? No. The inside joke made her laugh out of the blue. She buried her face in his chest with a half sob, half laugh. Suddenly her doubts were cleared. Suddenly she didn't want to marry anyone else. Catherine's arms tightened around Guilleme's waist. I've been taking you for granted, haven't I? I've been arrogant, expecting you to always adjust to me and my whims. A new fervor sprang out of her love for him. I don't deserve you right now. But I'll work on that if you give me another chance. First, she would tell him what she had done. Then it would be up to him if he still wanted her. He deserved that decision. What I did... But Guilleme stopped her with a kiss on the forehead. Tomorrow. After a hearty breakfast and a good night's rest. I'll listen to what you have to say. Though I'm quite sure my answer will still be the same. Catherine's face melted into a smile, and he beamed at her. My star finally smiles. Catherine wiped her eyes. I love you so much. She sighed with content, part of her anxiety put to rest. I do. I really do. She whispered that last one under her breath, as if trying to console herself. Guilleme? Yes, dear? Will you make love to me? Guilleme's brow shot up in surprise. Right now? Yes. No. Well, if you're not ready, later is also fine. Or tomorrow. Well, since it's already morning, then technically it is today, right? Guilleme's head tilted slightly, and an amused smirk plastered on his face. Please take me seriously, Guilleme. This is important to me. I have to know. I have to make sure. Make sure of what? Catherine. Guilleme held her hand. I think you are tired. And just a little bit balmy. Barmy. More than usual, I mean. But this is what we will do. Guilleme guided the woman to the bed and sat her down. We are going to lay on the bed. I'm going to pat your hair until you fall asleep. I shall skip work today, have that trifling little talk you want. And as such, if you're still in the love-making type of mood, then, mademoiselle, I will take you up on your offer. Catherine's eyes moistened, but this time they were happy tears. I love you. Guilleme shrugged and lifted Catherine's legs up onto the bed. I love you too, and aren't you lucky? Save it. He climbed on the bed beside her. Catherine draped her arm over him. He searched for her hand, brought it up to his lips, and patted it. Her eyes closed. She closed her eyes and rested her head on his chest, comforted by the warmth of his embrace. Monsieur, may I ask you something? Why do you love me so much? Guilleme mused for a while. Is that a trick question? It feels like a trick question. Catherine whined. All right, I shall humor you for now because you're in such a pathetic state. I love you simply because it's easy to love you, darling. You are my star, my light. You keep me right. Always. You make me want to do good by you, to be a better person. You aren't even my wife yet, but the townspeople are already calling you their lady. I may have to hand you to the marquisdom myself. That is only because everyone in town knows who I am. Oh, I wonder why that is. Is it because you help sell vegetables in the marketplace on weekends? Or because you conspire with my cooks to hold impromptu picnics with the locals? You know about that? One can only sneak out that much food without getting. One can only sneak out that much food without getting noticed, madame. It amuses me how the servants cover for you upon inquiry as well. It was my idea. It was my idea. They're not to blame. I know, darling. I know. Guilleme chuckled and kissed her temple. It goes to show how your presence uplifts everyone's lives, including mine. But honestly, those reasons aren't exactly why. I love you, Kath. I just do. Beyond what I thought I was capable of. Catherine's heart cracked with his last utterance. If I did something bad, would you still love me? Yes, I would. Are you sure? I'm sure. What if I've hurt an innocent person? What if I've hurt you? She bit her lip. What if I wasn't faithful? Guilleme stared at her questioningly. Catherine buried her face in his chest. She felt his hands smooth away her hair. He whispered gently into her ear. If you would still have me, come back to me. Sure. What happens doesn't matter at all. You are not your mistakes, Kath. Guilleme cleared his throat. Suddenly he seemed to have trouble breathing. You have the power to change. How about you? If I told you that I'm not what I say I am, would you? What do you mean? No, never mind. It's a silly question. What? Is something bothering you, Sho? Guilleme turned his head away and closed his eyes. Nothing, darling. We should sleep now. Catherine patted away the frown on his brow. She traced his cheeks with her fingers. Guilleme, I do love you. Now I am more than certain. It gives my heart happiness to know for sure. What reminded me was your generosity. You give every bit of yourself to the people you love. Do you know that? Because I have to, darling. You've always inspired me, Sho. I've always looked up to you. You treat everyone, no matter their status, with kindness. Never have I met a man more generous and thoughtful about others. A man with so much love to give. And that is why I love you. You are a good man. But if that's not what I really am... Catherine shook her head. You can't fake sacrifice, Monsieur. I've seen you care for the people in this town. I've seen how you've loved me. I don't care much for intention, you see. It's what we actually do that defines us. Guilleme paused, his voice choked up in his throat. Not always. Not always. Guilleme found Catherine's hand on his face and squeezed it. He stretched her neck and kissed his cheek. She stretched her neck and kissed his cheek. Catherine, you are always scared I will leave you. But the truth is, I know it is you who will leave me. And it hurts. What? We're different. I've loved you for so long. It scares me how deep I have rooted myself. Sometimes I deem it better to end this wretched existence. To save you from... What are you talking about, Guilleme? You're not making any sense. Is it your turn to scare me? I'm sorry. They didn't speak for a while. The air became a little uncomfortable. She could feel Guilleme's stressful breathing on her forehead. Catherine wondered what Guilleme was talking about. It didn't seem like he wanted to discuss it further. When Guilleme started to calm down, Catherine thought it was best to sleep and ask him about it the next day. But Guilleme spoke again. His voice was low and serious. Catherine, do you love me? With all my heart, Guilleme. I've loved you for what seems like my whole life. The candle flickered. Guilleme slipped his hands on Catherine's hair and gently pushed her face towards his. She closed her eyes and let the sensations of his lips take her. His mouth left sweet traces on her skin, as if washing away her sins, blessing her, anointing her. Catherine tasted salt in the kiss, the taste of tears. She wanted to take away all his sorrows. Guilleme held her tightly, longingly. She drowned herself in his embrace. His palm caressed her neck as she kissed her, sliding down sliding her down her arm and the curve of her waist. Her fingers tugged gently on her skin. Catherine darted his tongue inside his mouth. Guilleme answered it with his own. She wanted his every kiss. She felt pleasure to know it was he was hers. His hands ran up and down his back, and as the kisses grew heavier. Okay. Oh, you were just doing this with freaking Rosa like 2 minutes ago. Again, let's just have a happy three-way relationship. She felt him get excited, and she moved her hands between his legs. Guilleme broke away. Kath, let's stop. You're tired. Catherine looked into his eyes and saw he wanted her despite his protests. After the events of that night, there was despair there was a despair in Catherine that longed to be quenched. It was a selfish atonement, perhaps, a hunger for self-worth. She ran her tongue over his lips. I want this. Catherine straddled him, dipping her head and plunging her tongue deep into his mouth. She opened his shirt, nibbling on his ear as she did. She could... Okay. Are we gonna get actual porn here? I'm gonna keep clicking, and if this gets pornographic, I'll censor bits. Well, there's a wonderful image for for a thumbnail. Okay, porn talk. Do you love me, Catherine? Give me Girth. Interesting. She got something while she looked up at him. He didn't look like Guilleme in the shadows, unlicked by candlelight. His features were the same, his eyes were in the same place. His nose and lips were the same shape. But this man was a stranger. He did not care for her like how a snake didn't care for its prey. For a brief second she was afraid. A tiny voice told her to run away, but that voice was washed away by a wave of, horniness. The stranger grinned at Catherine. Mine. Run, rabbit. Run, rabbit, run. Here comes the farmer's gun. Well, she tried to ignore the growing coldness in Guilleme's eyes. She tried to well, you know, run, rabbit. Run, rabbit, run. She heard the man snicker. He wants his farmer's pie, so don't stand idly by. Run, rabbit, run. No warmth, just cold, hard greed. With every movement, Catherine felt her energy wither away. A heady, nauseous feeling of malady was clawing at her. What was missing? What was taken away? She didn't know what was gone until it was. The final scream of protest died in her mind, the last that was left of her lucidity. The urge to escape left. No more reasons to stop. Stop? No, 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 I must stop. Why didn't I must not, why did I even think that? He'd hate her? It was an agonizing thought. More. She had to give him more. More. His eyes observed her with cold amusement. Catherine touched his chest in reverence. His eyes were cold, but his body was like fire, like, you know, sex do. What the? In her mind's eye, he had started to become something else. A winged creature engulfed in flame. Both hot and cold and magnificent. Both beautiful and terrible. Both dark and light. And she would be on the bed with a man she might remember as the one she once loved. Other times she would be floating, suspended on a dark chasm of flesh. It was a creature with her, somebody she had both loathed and adored. Sometimes there were two people. Sometimes there was only him. Only him. The woman called Catherine didn't exist. She was merely an extension of his mind. Soon all of her would be gone, little by little disintegrating to be a part of him forever. Catherine screamed. She came again with that thought. Oh, bliss. She was prepared to give everything to him. It didn't even seem a worthy sacrifice to lay at his feet. No, all he asked for was her heart. That small, pathetic thing. It had always been his anyway. She gave it gleefully. He was so generous and considerate, benevolent, fair. She savored his that's gross. She worshipped him. He was her god. Please want me. Please find me pretty. She craved his love above everything else. Above fear and confusion. Above the mourning at something precious lost. Love me, please. Love me. She begged. I'll do anything for you. Anything? His lips did not move save for a smile. The words simply dropped in her head, echoed, and took root. Catherine's eyes lost their glimmer. Anything. Then tell me again. I want to hear it. Do you love me, Catherine? No. Her name on his lips was the only remainder of her former self. I do. I love you. I love you so much. With these words, she felt him. Well, that's just gross. Eyes were beginning to thaw. I saw on the verge of eclipse. His coldness replaced by radiating heat melded and fastened her to him like fire with metal. Gross. Really? Do you really love me? Yes. She screamed. Yes. The candle fizzled out. Beneath the depths of her hazy mind, she was relieved she didn't have to look at his face. She was relieved she didn't have to look at his face. He's just like the richest chocolate, the finest wine. Can't stop. Ugh. Stop. Knew waiting so long would be worth it. I have been her lover for years. And this flavor is divine. My head spins. My appetite swells. I can't. You're talking too much. Anger, reverence, disappointment, pain, memories. All different relishes and morsels. Stop it. Your love is a delicacy? You're destroying her. I can't stop myself. I haven't tasted this kind of love for so long. Flirtation and physical attraction can only get me by for so long. I was going to wait. There is a waning in her love. Confusion? Doubt? But that helping of guilt tinged the flavor perfectly. Oh, sweet. Her love is the most perfect tonight. Stop now, even if I wanted to. Liar. And I almost let you escape. To save her. I almost ran away. I love her. I love her. And tomorrow, maybe, what will become of her? I will find another. Next time. Something insignificant. I want to relish this taste a bit more. No. No. The mounting pleasure. Okay, that's gross. Good girl. Good girl. Ew. Other mouth? Bet your ass she's beautiful. All of it. I want it. It's mine. Mine. Catherine, give me more. I want more, more, more. Rosa stood in front of the door to Catherine's room, her hand raised to knock, but she didn't move. Doubt was creeping into her mind like a spider crawling on a wall. She remembered the feeling of hunger from the night they had kissed. It was both familiar and utterly alien, like an instinct, an urge she hadn't felt for a long time. A shiver ran down her spine at the memory. She's avoiding me, isn't she? She hadn't seen Catherine for a few days since that night. She had been spending a lot of her time alone, locked away in her room. Whenever Rosa saw her in the chateau, she would excuse herself and leave. Rosa never got the courage to push the issue. The days had passed, and Catherine's behavior began to worry her even more. She is selfish just like everyone else. She is probably repulsed. No, she's not repulsed by you. She certainly isn't repulsed by you. It's okay to say that she's selfish. People are selfish, and that's fine. What did you expect? She's selfish, just like everybody else. She used you as an experiment. She got carried away. And now that her curiosity is sated, she's done with you. You don't matter to her. You probably never did. You mattered to her more than anything else. Which is a good thing, darling. You see her true face. No matter. She's never going to love you like Mother does. Like all the others, she's going to leave you in the end, and then you're all alone. Only Mother will stay with you forever and love you. So be a good child and listen to what I tell you. Rosa bit her lower lip. It was all her fault, wasn't it? No. She needed to make it right. If Rosa talked to her properly, she was sure they would come to an understanding. She had to explain to her. What exactly? They had both been drunk and the kisses didn't mean anything? Her stomach churned at the thought. In the end, it didn't matter what Rosa wanted. Catherine obviously regretted what had happened. She didn't want to lose her friend because of too much wine. Rosa gently knocked on Catherine's door. "Catherine, may I come in?" "Please, Catherine, I'm sorry for the mess, but can we talk?" Rosa waited for an answer. None came. Rosa turned the handle slowly and entered. Usually Catherine's room was brightly lit. The windows let in a fresh breeze, often carrying the sweet smell of flowers in spring. Right now, however, the curtains were drawn closed. The few candles burning on the desk weren't enough to banish the darkness completely. The air hung heavy in the room. Catherine didn't turn around when the door opened. She just stood there, unmoving in front of a wall. The sound of something scratching along a rough surface filled the air. Rosa felt a shiver down her spine at the sound. Her muscles tensed instinctively. She approached Catherine slowly and apprehensively. As she came closer, she could hear that Catherine was whispering the same few words over and over again. "He loves me. He loves me not." Catherine giggled. "He loves me. He loves me not." "Catherine, are you all right?" Rosa stepped next to Catherine and peered at her outstretched hand. The dim light took a moment to make sense of what she saw. Catherine was scratching at the wall. The damage she had done to the wall was nothing compared to what she had done to her fingers. They were dripping with blood from where her skin was cracked and peeled back. Oh my God, Catherine, stop! Rosa's guts twisted horribly. She grabbed Catherine's shoulder to turn her around, away from the wall. She blinked a couple of times before finally reacting to Rosa's presence. Tears welled up in Catherine's bloodshot eyes at the sight of her friend, spilling over pale cheeks and chapped lips. She held tightly onto Rosa and started sobbing uncontrollably. "Cath, what's going on? Why are you hurting yourself?" Catherine tried to pull herself together as best she could, wiping her nose on the sleeve of her bloody dress. It was heart-wrenching to look at the mess that her friend had become. "Oh, Rosa, you need to help me. You need to protect me from him. Don't let him touch me." "Who? Let him what? Why do you need me to protect you?" Suddenly, Catherine touched a finger to her lips with a scared expression on her face. She leaned an ear towards the door and listened intently for a moment. "Oh, he's here?" Scared expression turned into a manic and frightening glee. "I think he's coming. Guilleme, honey. Guilleme, I love you." After yelling the last words, Catherine started sobbing again, with more tears streaming down her face. Before Rosa could try and console her, however, her sobs faded into hysterical laughter. It barely left time for her to gasp for breath. "Oh, Guilleme, I love the way you pull me close to hug me. And how kind you are to everyone you meet. Your eyes. What's going on in here?" Guilleme stood in the door, frowning. His eyes wandered across the room and caught sight of Catherine. His face was frozen in shock. Catherine stared wide-eyed for a second, then she snarled at him like a ferocious animal. "You bastard, get out of my room. Get lost." She stormed over to the desk and grabbed a letter opener from the table. With this weapon in firm grip and malice in her eyes, she rushed to Guilleme. "Don't you dare show your face to me." "Catherine, no." That's my feeling. Knife plunged into Guilleme's arm. Blood quickly stained his sleeve red. Catherine only recoiled to strike back, with no hint of stopping. My God. Catherine. They wrestled for a moment until Guilleme was able to grab Catherine's hand. She dropped the letter opener and stumbled on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Rosa quickly picked up the blade and stepped out of reach. She turned around again. Guilleme had already pulled Catherine into a tight embrace. Between her sobs and hiccups, Rosa could hear her apologizing. "I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry, Guilleme." "What?" "I'm so sorry. Do you love me? Please, Guilleme, do you love me?" She repeated the question over and over again, no matter how many times Guilleme reassured her. It was probably a good idea to find something to calm her down. Rosa didn't feel completely at ease doing so, but she left her friend alone with the Marquis for a few minutes. Later she resumed with a glass of water laced with valerian root. Guilleme had already coaxed Catherine to lie down on her bed, while Rosa helped her drink the nightcap. They watched her in silence as she drifted into a fitful sleep. Guilleme and Rosa left the room. They didn't speak for a while, both still dazed and shocked by the turn of events. "How is your arm?" Guilleme hid the injured arm away from view. "Fine. Just a scratch." The bleeding hadn't stopped yet. Rosa could tell the cut was deeper than Guilleme let on. "What is happening? What has gone into Catherine?" Guilleme just shrugged with a cold expression of worry on his face. "I wish I knew, Rosa. The state she is in scares me, to be honest." "No, it doesn't. Might be onset of an episode waiting to happen. Like her sister before." Rosa's mouth tightened. "How dare you say that? She is not crazy." Rosa searched his face for traces of a lie, but it was like a mask contorted by worry. She couldn't tell whether he was lying or telling the truth. "She asked me to protect her from you." "Did you hurt her?" "You know I wouldn't." "She is unwell. It seems I am the target of her psychotic state." "That is all I know." "But why?" Stop it, Rosa. It hurts me too, seeing her like this. Please stop questioning me further. I'm going to call for a physician. Please stay with her in the meantime. See that she doesn't harm herself again." For a moment, he met her eyes. Before she could say more, however, he turned around and left. "See if his pants have caught fire yet, child." There was nothing she could do about him for now. Rosa left to get a bowl of fresh water and a towel to tend to Catherine's fingers. Catherine had an uneasy sleep while Rosa cleaned her wounds as best as she could. She muttered, squealed, and whimpered like a child. It seemed that she was having a nightmare, but Rosa didn't dare wake her before the physician arrived. Instead, she stroked her hair, told her everything would be all right. She tried to appease the growing confusion of voices in her head. What had happened between Catherine and Guilleme? The relationship was often erratic, but Rosa dismissed the possibility that this was one of their usual fights. Rosa remembered Catherine's face, filled with utter spite at the man. She had never seen that much hatred in Catherine. After a few minutes, Catherine's eyelids fluttered open. She looked around with some confusion. Her gaze settled on Rosa. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Rosa?" Rosa held her outstretched hand, Her heart broke when she saw Catherine wince. Oh, Rose, I'm so scared. Everything is such a mess. It's going to be alright, Kath. Don't worry now, just try to sleep some more. No, you don't understand. Catherine tried to sit up, but Rosa pushed her down gently. You need to rest, Kath. I hate him. This is all his fault. She sniffled, but settled down on her pillow once more. When she spoke again, it was in a whisper. Rosa, She chewed on her dry, chapped lips for moments, as if she couldn't get the words out. I don't think I love him anymore. What? A dry sob escaped her, followed by tears running down her cheeks. Catherine really just said that? I don't understand this. I think of him, voice cracked. She shuddered under the blanket like an ill breeze had just sprung up in the room. It's like bugs are crawling under my skin. I can't bear to look at him anymore. I just can't. Can't even say his name. Why? Do you remember when exactly you started feeling this way? That night, Rosa winced. Catherine covered her face with her hands. It was a horrible night. Rosa's chest hurt. Is this her fault? No. She didn't know what she had done. But didn't she do something to her? I'm sorry. Catherine went on like she hadn't heard her. I went to his room. We spent the night together. Rosa waited for Catherine to continue, but the girl stared back blankly. She just stopped speaking as if forgetting she ever spoke at all. Kath, did he hurt you that night? Yes. No? Maybe? Catherine shook her head. I don't know. She grabbed her head and sobbed. The grip on Rosa's heart tightened. How can this be? Her eyes drowned in tears. I love him, Rosa, don't I? I remember everything. I love him. I know I do. I'm sure I do. I hate him too, to his very core. I want to hurt him and punish him for something. I want to snuff out the breath from his throat. But sometimes Catherine's eyes went blank. I just don't care for him at all. Sometimes I feel nothing. Nothing at all. That scares me more. What about us? Catherine, do you still love us? Do you still love Rosa? Because if you can't muster yourself to love Guilleme anymore in a genuine way, maybe you can love us instead. Maybe you can love Rosa instead. She laid on the bed, quiet now, letting tears flow out of her eyes without wiping them. I'm going mad, Rosa. Catherine. I am, aren't I? My sister? Like my mother. It runs in our blood. They said I am a child of a mad woman. They said I'm going to turn out exactly like her. Rosa stroked her hair as best to soothe her, tried her best to soothe her, saying that everything would be alright. They were empty words, but she didn't know what else to say. She wanted them to be true so badly, but for her friend's sake as well as her own. Was Guilleme really the cause of Catherine's confusion and pain? Pangs of guilt pricked her like tiny needles. Or was this her fault? Rubbish, you fool. This is all his fault, I can feel it. We must get to the bottom of this. Yes, Mother. Rosa looked down on her best friend and nodded slightly to herself. Everything will be all right, Catherine. I promise. She would make it all right somehow. She had to. The physician arrived shortly, but did little to help Catherine. Catherine never regained her personality. She remained moody and irritable, breaking into fits of hysterical laughter or heartbreaking sobs at seemingly random intervals. Guilleme and Rosa would take turns to tend to her. Her moods fluctuated, her temper uncontrollable. There were times she begged for attention from Guilleme, almost clinging to him in despair, never letting him out of her sight. Other times she couldn't stand his very presence. Soon, neither Guilleme nor Rosa could console her anymore. She withdrew entirely from the household. She starved herself, stopped coming to meals, stopped caring for herself. Her manic episodes degraded into long stretches of blank silence. Emptiness ruled her life. Looking into her eyes in those last days, it was like a fire had been snuffed out behind them. Like the star that had been shining through them had imploded. Chapter 5. Psyche. Okay, so that was another chapter of Cupid, a visual novel. I don't know about you, but in my mind there's no doubt anymore that Guilleme is responsible. He's playing coy. He might have been targeting their entire family all along. Yeah, I'm going to end him. I'm going to end him. He doesn't deserve love if he takes it for his own pleasure and consumes it so carelessly. So yeah, that's all for tonight. So, until next time. Goodbye.